Why the Nazis went to Tibet, Egypt, and Antarctica? What was they looking for? And do you know if they found anything?
Well, they were looking for technology. Um, they also were heavily supported by the Fuel Society. The Fuel Society actually sponsored the founding of the Nazi Party. They were still heavily into the blood cult. They had to affirm that they were not of Jewish tribal blood, and none of that blood had flowed into their family for generations.
Why Jewish blood?
Out of the 13 tribes of Israel, they believed that they were forsaken.
What do you mean by forsaken?
That since they did not hold up the tenets of God and maintain those 12 tribes as a priestly family unto God, that they were forsaken, and that's why they were lost.
Right. So was Hitler a Saurian or a hybrid?
No, he was a thief. As you know, they revered the Vril. The Fuel Society, there was a race that lived under the surface, which is kind of true, as you know.
Yes.
They had tech that was unheard of at that time. They observed the Vril and saw a liquid that was used in tech as well, not only with their technology, but also the healing of their own bodies. And simply put, you can observe that and you can think, oh, it can be used for a great use or it can be used for a military use. You know, they named that fluid Vril because of the Vril. It became the hot new buzzword of Germany. I mean, it's to this day, there's a lot of products on the market that still contain the word Vril, like Bovril. It's a it's a type of bouillon, but it means Vril translation of would mean like invigorating or empowering.
Would this be chi power?
No, the the energy was observed that was liquid. It was an infusing, yeah, an infusion. Sorry.
Was that heavy water?
Uh,
Because I know the Nazis were experimenting. I think it's called heavy water,
yeah.
but you can't
I
speak
mean,
about that.
no, but it's one thing I can say that it's used in a lot of our nuclear plants here in the United States. Well, yeah, if you fell into heavy water, you would sink. There's no possible way you could actually swim and move through heavy water. However, unlike you jumping into a pool in your backyard.
So why is it so important, heavy water? I don't even know what it is.
Well, it's used to contain a radioactive field. Like I said, it's used in our, you know, nuclear power plants here to contain plutonium rods. This water actually creates an insulation.
So where did they get that technology from?
That would be the Vril. Now, you've asked about the Vril in the past. However, that was the wrong question.
What was the right question?
Who are the Vril?
Are they still in existence today?
In the northern parts of Russia, Germany, Switzerland. Yes.
Are they enemies of the Saurians?
No, they are educators.
So these are nothing to do with the Masons or any other Templars or anything
No,
like that? No.
no, they're an entity unto themselves. But from the Thul's observations, they stole technology from these people. The flying wing was one of them.
Have you ever heard of Foo Fighters? Do you know what they are?
No, I don't.
There was tiny globes of light that World War II pilots said was floating in World War II. So I don't know if that was anything to do with anti-gravity. Apparently there was orbs that was floating that the Nazis had sent up when there was bombing made, and
The trans
they'd attach themselves to the planes. They'd be attracted to electricity, I think.
I don't know if it was a consciousness transportation means or if it was an actual physical transportation means.
Right.
I have heard of it. Oh, absolutely. They were on a major league hunt for anything that has to do with legend or the occult or, spirituality. They wanted everything. So it was believed that Hitler received the Spear of Destiny. However, we know that it was in the area of Afghanistan and Pakistan that it now where it resides in its own temple. Things are being returned. There's a reason for antiquities being returned to their original places. Egypt is one of these that requires their artifacts to be returned because these are important tools and they belong in their temples. Just because someone is of a Christian denomination does not, entail them to have the Ark of the Covenant in their home.
What did they find in Tibet? Anything?
And the Nazis, they
Yes.
found the vibrational technology that is associated with the Nagini. Well, von Braun was quoted as saying from them, they learned from the Vril. This was, you know, basically a reverse engineering party that took all of this information and they tried to recreate it with their own scientists. They were, educators just like Saurians are.
Yes.
We don't have a one side or the other. The uplifting of knowledge is the uplifting of all.
Did they find anything in Antarctica?
The sleepers, and that's why they were ran off.
Who were the sleepers?
You would refer to them as the giants. We call them the world eaters.
They still live there today, do they?
Yes,
How big are they?
large.
Are they humanoid?
They are humanoid, but they are far from human.
So where did they come from?
That is still debatable. Our personal belief. Now, your belief may be different, which I respect. We believe these are the children of the Elohim.
The illusion that would be the Anunnaki.
Yes,
So that would have been the Alpha Draconians.
the Elohim are not the Alpha Draconians. The Elohim are a separate species. However, they were very much into the manipulation of genomes, and they were they are an older race compared to the Alpha Draconians. So do make a difference between the two.
So the sleepers must be intelligent then.
I would like to think them comatose for eternity. Well, when they were locked into the ice, they were put into a slumber. With the sleepers, they were locked into the ice. Our major cities is in Antarctica. It is based under our custody to keep them sleeping, to keep people from coming in and disturbing that slumber.
So was they locked up there as a punishment?
Well, they were locked up to protect us.
So who locked them up?
That's the great question now, isn't it?
Could that have been the Pleiadians?
If I could confirm that, that would be wonderful. However, I cannot.
Are we under threat by them, or are they taken care of?
If they wake up, we're under a major threat. They're demigods. You couldn't. I mean, there's ways to kill a god, yes, but I don't think it would be possible. And I use the term, demigod and god, of course, as a different being, much more powerful than you and I. If I were to go outside to see a caterpillar on the ground, with a simple thought, I can destroy that caterpillar, but no matter how hard it tries to survive, it will fail.
Do you think they was put there as a backup plan in case something went wrong?
Uh,
Or security?
I would hate to think so. Uh, you tell your stories to your offspring about monsters and boogeymen. Our scary stories involve the sleepers. I mean, just the awakened consciousness of a sleeper would wreak havoc. Legends and facts are based in truth. Now, we have seen the Nile run red in, since biblical history. We have seen frogs rain down from the sky. We have seen plagues and miasma, killing people, famine. We've seen plagues of locusts from every country on earth, destroying crops. This is natural phenomena. However, when called upon in such, amount, in such a short recorded part of time, there are isolated incidents.
Can you tell us a bit about the ancient Israelites? We've touched on it lightly before, but can you go into a bit more detail?
Sure. First, I'd like to address, quote unquote aliens in the Bible.
Yeah.
There are entities referred to in the Bible as Gur, which is kind of funny because there's a cartoon my children used to watch growing up about an alien and his companion named Gur. Now, according to Deuteronomy, Gur is shared a close proximity with the Israelites, but maintained a cultural distance from that group. This is where we get the word stranger. It's also written that Gur were in Egypt in Deuteronomy 23, verse 17, and in Deuteronomy 14, verse 21. It says, "You shall not eat anything which dies of itself. You may give it to the alien who is in your town so that he may eat it, or you shall sell it to a foreigner. Gur occurs 92 times in the Hebrew Bible.
Can we explain to people why you know so much about the Bible?
Actually, yes. It was a fascinating topic for me and much debate with many people. And I actually attained my degree in theology.
So, for all the Christians out there, your minister could be a Saurian for all you know.
Very true. It is, but at the same time, you have to address things like this. And as many as I get, I try to do the best I can, but the odds are overwhelming at points in time. And it's just one of the things you have to take, one by one and say, look, this is how I believe, this is how it is, and either you can take this information and utilize it, or you can reject it and walk away. But please don't deter others from making that same choice. Give them the same freedom that you had. There were laws for participating in Passover and keeping of the Sabbath, and it was absolutely okay for Gur to participate if they were circumcised, which means that these Gur had a humanoid entity. Going back to the 13 tribes, most time you hear about the 12 tribes of Israel. Well, that's because Levi, one of the 12 sons of Joseph, he was not given the inheritance because they were not a nation of priests, which Israel was supposed to be. Hence, there are only 12 mentioned, but in reality, there are 13.
Have you heard about the theory that America, England, and Canada are the 13 tribes of Israel?
Actually, yes. The remaining members of the tribes of Israel were said to scatter across the earth or across Terra and populate and teach and hold the covenant.
So that would make the Americans, the English, the Canadians, that would make us
the Japan's imperial family as well.
That'd make us, well, the Vikings as well. That'd make us the true Jews.
Yep, the children of Israel.
And that, because I know at the moment, the people who call themselves Jews at the minute, they haven't got any ancestry from Jerusalem. They descend from Scythia and Kazakh.
Yeah, Kazakh.
So we're the real, because a lot of blacks as well think they're the ancient Israelites. Can you explain that?
Yes, the 13 tribes are, of course, Levi, Nephtali, Asher, Dan, Benjamin. Let's see if I can remember all these. Manasseh, Ephraim, Zebulun, Issachar, Judah, Gad, Simon, and Reuben.
You can see evidence of this in the flags, can't you?
Yes, you can. And see, one thing that we wanted to, because Joseph had 22, or yeah, at the time 12 children. His descendants, especially, I would like to call your attention to the tribe of Dan. Dan shall judge his people as one of the tribes of Israel. Dan shall be a serpent by the way and a viper by the path, that bites the heels of the hooves of the rider shall falleth down.
Was that a Saurian tribe or a hybrid tribe?
Hybrid tribe.
Right. So they was living with the other tribes of Israel.
Yes. Out of the 144,000, 10 of the tribes of Israel carried away by the Assyrians, they intermarried and disappeared as a distinct people. The the 13 tribes are supposed to be a pure blood, institution of priests. Due to the interbreeding of different peoples is a major factor into the kingdom of priests. It was mentioned in the Bible, I love the world, but Israel is my favorite, and there you shall be a kingdom unto thee.
But everyone thinks they're Israelites. You've got the black Israelites, you have the Jewish Israelites, and then you have people from Europe who believe they're Israelites.
Color and ethnicity has no bearing on being a hybrid. It also has no bearing on being one of the original 13 tribes. These were pure blood priests of God. They chose not to remain in Israel as a priestly kingdom for the world. When they departed, they interbred with Assyrians and they disappeared as a distinct people. They were one of the world. They were no longer cloistered genetically in Israel. In Levitican law, there's a list of rules for the ger. Did you know that?
No. No, I didn't.
Yeah. If the ger were to be assimilated into the culture, they had to follow a strict Levitican code. They had to be circumcised. They had to abhor the touching of swine. They could not eat shrimp. They could not wear blended clothing. They had to keep the holy Sabbath. They could not swear fealty into another graven image. I mean, it's the same things that would apply in the Old Testament law.
It all goes back to the Scythians.
Yes.
Obviously, they came about through Hercules having babies with a viper maiden. And also, I find it strange that they wear long helmet. Hybrids have elongated skulls, so the long
Yeah.
helmets was probably to hide the elongated skulls.
Yes. And couldn't you imagine the shock and awe factor of the opposing army when they saw mounted cavalry with extended helmets, thinking, "Oh crap, here they come." I mean, you could have had, 500 or 600 in the army, but an army of 10,000, that's nothing. So you give everybody a Scythian helmet, and you think, "Oh God, we're done."
And they also wore scaled armour.
Yes, even the barding for the horses.
I mean, how much more evidence do you need?
Flashing neon signs and skin like. I'm not very familiar with the X-Men people, but the blue one that changes into different people.
Today it's Ukraine, isn't it?
It's in the Caucasus Mountains.
It's
North.
round about where Ukraine is.
Yep. And the Persians called them the Saka, and the Chinese called us the Sai.
And I also find it strange that it was Ukraine that was starved by Stalin. Do you think this was anything to do with trying to get rid of the hybrids?
I did hear about the Crimea, but I am still very much the isolationist.
Can you tell us about DMT? It's a drug, DMT, that you can take. Ayahuasca, I don't know if you've heard of that.
I've heard of it, but
But it sends
I
you
didn't.
into a trance state, and apparently people see things, and you can interact with, well, they say it's gods and stuff like that. Do you believe in anything like that?
No. Anything that would chemically alter your state of consciousness is a hindrance, not a helper.
But it activates your pineal gland, which secretes that, which makes you dream basically. And apparently, before you die, this releases a chemical, which is where everyone says they're going to heaven.
Yes, the Eye of Horus, but however, I would not, again, utilize chemicals to dilate that. That's something you should be able to do on your own by avoiding chemicals to help decalcify.
Right.
Adding more pollutants to your own body is not going to benefit you. I mean, I can give you a shot of epinephrine and increase your cardiac rhythms, tenfold. However, it's not something that's going to be readily available, when you need it.
So you can activate your third eye whenever you'd like.
Yes, it just takes training and time. We live in such an instant gratification, now way of life that teaching is almost been, deemed unnecessary. You walk around with devices in your hands and on your desks that contain the knowledge of the known world. Yet people still don't grasp the concept of utilizing it.
So, who trained you to use your third eye?
My parents, to be in a quiet, relaxed place. And one of the first lessons was to hum and to concentrate on that frequency. And in that frequency, you would feel a warmth. And in that warmth, you would go in. You would notice your heart rate change, your breathing start to change, and your body to relax. After that, you would do blind sketch, where again, you would start with your own tone, you would focus, and you would let your hand freely draw. And then you would analyze the imagery afterwards. Have you ever been diving?
No.
Okay, imagine diving and just surface, snorkeling, whatever. And you come across a deep, deep chasm or a deep hole, a cenote. And you're in water, you're not going to fall. But in that instant, that fear in your stomach is very, very great because you believe you're going to fall and you scamper back to shallower water. You know what's going on and you can manipulate things there.
I believe from people who have done it in the past, it's a bit like when you first get there, you realise you've been there before.
And people tend to describe it as intense feelings of love or of peace. This is higher conscious. There is no room for, celestial baggage. It would be like going to your refrigerator and you normally go in the main part where your milk and cheese and eggs are at. But occasionally you open the top. You're still in the refrigerator. You're just in a higher part of it.
Right.
Everyone has access to this, second floor of their mental home. But very few people visit.
And can everyone do this, or is there people out there that it's just not possible for them to do it?
If you remain closed-minded, you will not be able to achieve this. You must accept that there are things different than you. There are other beings. You must quit yelling and screaming at others because you don't understand. You cannot call them a demon or stupid or misunderstood or touched. It's counterproductive to what you're trying to do. If you're trying to enlighten yourself, then do your best to understand. And if you cannot make sense of it, then walk away. Find another path. There are many paths to this. However, understanding oneself and understanding others is a major factor.
So, have you ever heard or seen anything that you can't explain?
Oh, several things. Trying to find something that's actually approved for this channel. That was a bit of lewd humor.